Hi friends, this is Katerina from the Evergreen Stitches, and on this video tutorial I'm going to show you how to knit the sleeves of the sweater. So let's start. If you remember, I have placed the stitches that I'm going to use for the sleeves on this cable on one side and the other sleeve on a piece of scrap yarn. Just to show you both methods, of course you are going to use one of them. I will work this first because it will be easier. So the only thing that I will need to do here is to attach my knitting needles. So I'm going to take away these stoppers and attach my knitting needles. I am going to use size 5 because this is the knitting needles that I used for the body of the sweater as well. So let me attach my knitting needles, please. Now, if you remember, we have cast on 6 stitches in order to compensate for the width of the armpit. So let me show you a way to avoid creating big holes under the armpit. As you can see here, there is a piece of yarn that goes from here, from the right side, under this single stitch, and comes out here. And what I'm going to do is to lift this strand of yarn and place my right needle underneath it from back to the front like this. If you want, you can place a stitch marker so you remember where this strand is. And then I'm going to take the other part of the strand like this and place it on the right needle as well. And now I am going to use a crochet hook in order to pick up my stitches. Of course you can do it with your needle, but it's easier if you use a crochet hook, or you can also use double pointed needles if you prefer. So now I will need to find the cast on stitches, the 6 cast on stitches that I cast on when I joined the body. What I'm going to do is take the yarn and leave a long tail and then find the very first stitch, which is near this lifted strand of yarn. So this is my very first stitch, this one, and I know because there is a V created on top. So I'm going to insert my hook like this and pull up a loop, which I'm going to place on the right needle. At this point, it's a good idea to keep your tail in place, to pinch it with your middle finger because it's quite loose yet. So I have the first stitch. Now I'm going to insert my hook again under the V here and create another stitch. And again here, under these V's, I don't know if you can see them here, let me show you. So here I'm inserting the hook, I'm pulling up a loop which I'm placing on the right needle. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 2 more because I cast on 6 stitches. So here under both strands of yarn. So here is my last stitch. Now there are 6 stitches on the right needle. As you can see, I can pull down this tail. I'm going to weave it in later. And here I have reached the gap of the other side, and I know because I can see the strand of yarn that runs through a stitch from one side to the other. And again I'm going to insert my right needle like this, from the back to the front on this one, and from the front to the back on the other side. So you can see this strand, but now what I'm going to do is to place it on the left needle like this. So now I'm ready to start knitting the rounds of the sleeve, but the first thing that I'm going to do is to try to eliminate this gap, and in order to do this, what I'm going to do is to knit these two stitches together. Now what I'm going to do is to insert my needle like this, so I'm going to knit two together. So now I'm ready to work the round. I'm just going to knit my stitches until I get here one stitch before the lifted strand where I have placed the marker. So I've knitted up to the one stitch before the strand of yarn that I've lifted. What I'm going to do here again is to slip this stitch on my right needle and then put it back like this, so it's kind of slanted to the right. And now I'm going to knit these two stitches together through the back like this, and again here I'm going to remove the stitch marker and knit these two stitches together. In this way I'm trying to make the gaps here smaller. Of course my tail is still loose, and now I'm going to work my stitches until I get to the other gap. So here, let me adjust my cable please. And here, this is the other lifted strand of yarn, so I'm going to knit these two together from the back. I'll pull up the working yarn as much as I can. So in this way I tried to make the holes under the armpit smaller, and now I'm just going to knit according to the pattern. I will knit one more round with knit stitches, and then I will work the lateral braid. So I have knitted 2 rounds of stockinette stitch, and now I'm ready to start working my lateral braid for 2 more rounds. If you remember from the body of the sweater, I will need to go down a size because the lateral braid tends to be loose. So in order to maintain the same texture, I will go down a size, but just for the 2 rounds of the lateral braid. And the first round of the stockinette stitch after the lateral braid. Then again I will return to size 5. So if you remember from the body part, in order to start a lateral braid you will need an extra stitch, and I'm going to create this extra stitch by lifting up this strand, placing it on the needle, and now I'm going to twist it like this and put it back on the right needle. Now I'm going to create a yarn over. The yarn is at the back, and now I'm going to work these two stitches together. This is going to be a bit difficult because they are quite tight. Now I'm going to wrap the yarn around the needle and pull up the stitch. Be careful not to split your yarn. So these two stitches are knitted together. The yarn should be at the back, and I'm going to place this stitch, the new stitch, on the left needle, yarn over, and then knit these next two together. And again I'm going to place this back to the left needle, yarn over, and knit them together. Now you can see the lateral braid, so I will continue in the same way as I did when I knitted the lateral braid for the body part. If you would like to see some more, you can watch that part of the video. I am going to knit 2 rounds of lateral braids, and I will meet you then. I have finished my 2 rounds of the lateral braid on the sleeve, and now I'm going to knit 2 rounds of stockinette stitch. If you remember the way I knitted it on the part of the body, What we need to do is on this first round of stockinette stitch, you should twist your stitches. We are going to continue using these size 4 needles because these stitches are kind of loose. So in order not to be too holy, I'm going to use the smaller size. Then I will switch to size 5, which is the regular size. And after I finish these 2 rounds, I am going to start decreasing. The number of your decreases will depend on the length of the sleeve and the circumference of the wrist of the person who is going to wear the sweater. Because the person who is going to wear this sweater has a thin wrist, I need to decrease every other round, but of course you should calculate your decreases using your measurements. But first finish the 2 rounds of stockinette stitch and I will get back to you. I have finished my 2 rounds of stockinette stitch and now I'm ready to start working on the decreases for the sleeve. The first thing that you need to do is to find the 6 cast on stitches that we have added when we joined the 2 sides of the sleeve. These cast on stitches on this round are here, 3 and 3. So I'm going to place a marker here and I'm going to work my decreases. Let me take out these. I'm going to work my decreases on this side and on that side. This is going to be the center of the decreases, let's say. So let me show you what to do. First, I'm going to knit the stitches until I get 3 stitches from the stitch marker, and these 2 stitches is going to be my first decrease. What I'm going to do is to knit them together, and then I'm going to knit 2 stitches, and I'm going to slip this stitch on the right needle, knit the next one, and pull this over the stitch. So in this way I have decreased 2 stitches in this round, and now I will finish this round knitting stockinette stitch, and then I will knit one more round with a stockinette stitch but no decreases, and then again I will knit a round with 2 decreases at the same point, and I will continue in this way until I have knitted 15 rounds of decreases, meaning that I would have knitted 30 rounds in total. So please do it and I will meet you then. I have finished knitting the length of the sleeve. I decided to add my decreases on every other round because in this way I created a kind of raglan on the sleeve as well. But if you would like to distribute your decreases more evenly, what you can do is use the gauge and calculate where to add your decreases on the length of the sleeve. I have decreased 15 times on every other round, so I have knitted 30 rounds in total. Then I continued without any decreases. Now I have the length I need for the sleeve. In my case, this length is 47 centimeters from under the armpit. Now I'm going to continue by knitting the rib. I'm going to go down a needle size, so I'm going to work with circular needles size 4, and I'm going to knit rib stitch the same as this one here at the end of the body of the sweater. So I'm going to knit the same number of rounds, and in the end I'm going to knit 2 rounds of tubular stitches in the same way I knitted them here. So if you don't remember how to do it, please watch this part of the video. Another thing that I'm going to do is that before I start the rounds of rib stitch, I am going to knit a round of decreases. So I need a circumference of 17 centimeters for the wrist of the person who is going to wear this sweater. There are 42 stitches here after my decreases here, and I'm going to decrease 12 stitches. Please let me change my needle size, and then I will get back to you to show you how to decrease invisibly. The number of your decreases will of course be calculated according to the circumference of the wrist, so please calculate it. I will just show you how to use the central decreases in order to create an invisible decrease. In order to distribute my decreases evenly, I will knit 2 stitches in the normal way. I will decrease 2, and now I am going to repeat the following twice. I will knit 5, I will decrease 2, I will knit 4 and decrease 2. So I have finished my 2 repeats, and then I will knit 5 and decrease 2, and I will be left with 3 stitches which I am going to knit. Of course, this is the way that I am going to distribute my decreases. The way you will distribute your decreases will depend on how many decreases you will need to add. So I will now show you how to work your decreases so to be invisible. I will use the center decrease. First I will knit 2 stitches, and now I'm ready to add my first decrease. What I will do is, first of all, I'm going to slip these 2 stitches on the right needle like this. Then I will knit this next one, and I will slip these 2 which I haven't knit like this, and in this way my decrease is not slanted, so it's not very visible. Now, as I said, I'm going to knit 5 in the normal way. And now I'm going to insert my next decrease. So I will slip the first 2 stitches on the right needle, I will knit the next one, and now I will place these 2 on top like this, and I will continue adding the decreases as I have calculated in order to be distributed evenly until I get to the end of the round. After this round, I will work my rib stitch for the same number of rounds as I did for the body part, and then I will knit with the tubular method for 2 rounds, and I will cast off. If you would like to remember how we do all this, you can watch my video tutorial on the rib edge, but first finish with the rib and I will meet you then. So I have finished the rib of the first sleeve, and now I'm ready to pick up the stitches from the other sleeve and work the other sleeve. I will just show you how to pick up the stitches here, because here I used this piece of scrap yarn. So the first thing that you will do is to start on the right side and find this strand of yarn here, this, which comes out on the other side. So now I will pick up loops which I will place on my needle in order to create the stitches. So here I'm pulling up a loop, I am placing it on the knitting needle. For the time being you should pinch the tail because still it's not steady. Then the next one, the next loop, and the next one. So here again one more, so now I have the cast on stitches. Here now I have also the strand of yarn, so I'm inserting my needle like this, and then it comes out from this side. Let me find, so this is it. So these are my stitches. You can see what I will do with these stitches if you watch how I worked the previous sleeve. So I will untie this scrap yarn and I will place my stitches on the knitting needle. You can place them first and then take away the scrap yarn, or you can do it like this. Just please make sure that you haven't dropped any of your stitches. So this is the way we do it. When I finish placing my stitches on the working needle, I'm going to change my needles because I am going to use a size 5 for the sleeve, except the part of the lateral braids. If you don't remember, please watch the way I worked for the other sleeve. I am going to knit the sleeve and then I am going to get back to you and show you how the sweater looks when it's all finished. So here is the finished sweater. I hope you liked this pattern and my tutorial. If you did, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching and bye for now.